let's introduce our first keynote speaker today, who is Dr. Ray Guarendi. He is a Catholic father of 10. I'm getting there. All right? I'm getting there. It's kind of a flex, isn't it? Catholic father of 10, clinical psychologist for over 40 years, and a national voice on the family, life, and faith. His radio program, The Doctor Is In, is heard on more than 440 stations and Sirius XM Channel 130. And his EWTN television series, Living Right with Dr. Ray, airs in 140 countries. How many countries are there? Yeah, that's incredible. That seems like all of them as far as I'm concerned. Dr. Ray has given thousands of talks across the country, lending humor, clarity, and practical wisdom to equip Catholic men and families to live with confidence in their God-given roles. His best-selling books, including You're a Better Parent Than You Think and Why Be Catholic, have strengthened both families and faith. He has 18 different books at his table today. Today, in his keynote, Live with Hope, Dr. Ray calls us to stand strong as pilgrims of hope. Let's welcome Dr. Ray Guarendi.
Never had a backup like this. I gotta watch my mouth. I hope I don't fall off this. If I do, this will all be mine. Now, Dr. Pellegrino, you can still work here, but not what you're making now. Jesus, Moses, and an elderly-looking gentleman were golfing. Moses steps up to hit the first shot. Terrible shot. Head straight for the pond. Moses runs up to the pond. Parts of water. Ball bounces across the bottom of the pond up onto the fairway. Jesus says, "That's a fine shot, Moses." The elderly-looking gentleman's thinking, what did I get myself into? Jesus steps up. Terrible shot. Head straight for the pond. Hits the water. And sits. Jesus walks across the water. Stands, chips the ball up onto the fairway. Moses says, "You too, Savior." Fine shot. The elderly looking gentleman's thinking, how do you compete with these guys? He steps up. Hits the worst shot of the three. 40 yards, slices into the rough behind an oak tree. 10 seconds later, big gust of wind comes out, blows the ball out onto the fairway, into the pond, where it sinks to the bottom, hits the mud. Big carp grabs the ball, leaps the water, hangs at an apex. Starling comes out of the woods, grabs the ball out of the carp's mouth, flies 390 yards down the fairway, drops the ball onto the green. Squirrel comes out of the woods, nudges the ball into the cup for a hole in one. Jesus turns, says, "It's a nice shot, Dad." My wife is a convert to the Catholic faith. She struggled with confession. But she understood the reasoning, the thinking. She couldn't get it through her head that when you go to confession, you got to confess your own sins, not your husband's. Bless me, Father, Ray has sinned. She made her first confession when she was 39. Now, gentlemen, you read these Christian marriage books, what do they tell you? Be on your knees for your wife. Okay, fine. She goes into the confessional. I get on my knees. I stay there the whole time she's in there. So I took a week off from work. She came out. Well, what do you think, honey? You're right, Ray. I've never felt this clean. Good, good. So, what'd you tell Father? I'm not telling you that. You can tell me. You're not bound by the seal. Not telling you, Ray. I figured it out. If you want to know what your wife or your kid tells Father in the confessional, you kind of got to go in the back door. So, honey, what did you get for penance? If you know what they got for penance, you can kind of reason backward to how rock gut they were. She goes, I guess I could tell you that. Now, guys, this is good. You got to come up with creative penances, not these cheapies. She said, I guess I can tell you that. I got a rosary. Not rosary. Not bad for 40 years of pagan muck. She said, with the stations of the cross at every bead. Oh, I kind of wish you'd told me that before I married you, actually. Then she asked me, okay, Ray, what do you usually get for penance? Me? Most of the time? Half a sign of the cross. Sometimes a quarter. That's hardly enough time to levitate. Gentlemen, I've been shrinking for over 40 years. I used to be like 6'9". In the time I've been doing this, I've watched discipline become a dirty word. A word of psychological last resort. Many of you, gentlemen, have raised your kids. I'm convinced you are the last generation across the board to know who the parent was. You parented out of a mindset, I am dad, you are not. Oh, we got these young people so skittish nowadays. You leave him on the pot for 4 minutes too long, he's going to grow up to be a tattooed-faced motorcycle gang member on Springer. You named him John because you were hoping it would help in the toilet trading. Hey, Ken, what'd you do? Sit him by IQ here or stay with me? Gentlemen, what's going on out there? It is so hard for strong Catholic parents to stand strong against a culture no longer on their side. What has happened? Something's undercut their authority, their peace of mind, their strength of will, their resolve. And you know who that something is? Me. The shrinks. I'm everywhere. Crawling all over women's magazines, all over television, radio, putting out thousands of books, articles every year. And that message, what do you know? You're just a dad. Yeah, you can stumble your way along. Hopefully you won't foul it up too bad. You want to do this right? The new, modern, psychologically enlightened way? Yep. Got to be state certified, congressionally mandated, child development during Sacramento International on Oprah. Specialist. Gentlemen, why do we discipline kids? Your parents will come to me, they'll say, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Give me a technique to make this easier. I got it. Best technique I've ever seen for disciplining any child less. Grandchild, child, simple. Lower your standards. Get them low enough, you don't have to discipline at all. I told you, quit doing drugs in the living room when we have visitors. We discipline, gentlemen, because we love, because you can't establish morals and character without it. You know why else you discipline? And I tell this to parents who feel guilty. You don't do it now, they will. It's a guarantee. Judge, landlord, army sergeant, police officer, employer. I shudder at this next one. A wife. Somebody's going to teach them. And the world hurts. I'm fond of telling folks, discipline without love may be harsh. Love without discipline? That's child abuse. Because ultimately, that kid's going to run up against the world, and there is only one person who ever conquered the world. And the world will hurt our kids, our grandkids, if we don't do it. For whatever the reason, because you feel guilty. Think you won't like you. People don't understand you. Your mother-in-law already thinks you're the biggest she-witch to fly the face of the earth. Yes, gentlemen. I was 3 years old, I said this to my mom. I don't like you. She looked at me. Raymond, you're a little behind. Stopped liking you last year. Back before you could psychologically smack parents around, you know. One of my kids tells me I don't like you, so what? I got 5 or 6 who do. Any given moment, I got a 50% approval rating. Gentlemen, the part about the 10 kids is true. So I'm here. It's quieter here. It smells better. At one point, they were 12, 11, 10, 10, 9, 7, 4, 3, 2, and baby. Yeah, the remote broke. You know the definition of impending middle age? It's when your wife gives up intimacy for Lent and you don't realize it till Monday after Easter. These guys are looking at me like, what's your point, man? Lent is January 7th to August 28th. You guys see if you can shorten up that church calendar there. My children are all adopted, all 10 of them. And you know the neat thing about adoption, I know there's got to be some adopted parents in here. Agencies don't tell you this. I figured it out about the third kid. If you adopt in December, you still get the tax deduction for the whole year. They pay for themselves that first year, then you start to fall behind because they eat more. But if you cut back on the food, you can break even September, October. My wife and I have had this ongoing tiff. And I think you gentlemen will agree with me. First of all, my wife does not work for a living. I don't know what she does. Man, you quote me up to now I was even here. I've seen what the woman does. I don't want any part of what the woman does. When the kids were little, she'd take them to a grocery store. I'd go. If I was heavily sedated, I would go. Had to see it. Strung out behind her like ducks. Hands at their sides. No, touch the thing. They would not deviate 6 inches either way out of a straight line the whole 2 hours they were in there. They wouldn't. Leg irons wouldn't let them. I got 3 white kids, 2 Hispanic kids, 2 biracial kids, 3 black kids. People would look at my wife. Some of them were pretty bold. Is this some kind of club or something? Some of them wouldn't say a whole lot, but I could read their eyes. That major dork don't realize them ain't all his. I suspect her, but I can't catch her. Our kids have what the experts would call risk factors. Now, in psychological parlance, a risk factor is anything that would make a kid tougher to raise. Poor prenatal care, poor postnatal care, abuse in the womb, neglect in the womb, high maternal stress, low birth weights, heavy drug exposure, crack, narcotics, barbiturates, heroin, cocaine, nicotine, marijuana, alcohol. My son Peter, birth mom was told you're pregnant. Don't worry about it. There's a blood clot growing next to the baby. Baby grows, blood clot grows. Blood clot suffocates baby. Problem solved. Problem made it. Born 2 months premature, 1 month intensive care. But Petey made it. My daughter Elizabeth. Birth mom got pregnant in the 7th grade. 13 years old. Went to Akron, Ohio. Solved her problem. She didn't realize she was in her 7th month. Babies are bigger in the 7th month, you know, gentlemen. You can't flush them out, suck them out. You gotta pull them out. They don't come out in one piece. They're too fragile. They break apart, you know. You gotta crush their skull and rip their limbs off. That's how you get them out. I used to do a lot of talks to secular groups. They don't really call me all that much anymore because they go to the website and they see Catholic media. And that's it. They don't want anything to do with you. But back then, I gave a lot of talks to secular groups, school districts, Head Start programs, hospitals, businesses. And I'd watch their faces as I described this, you see. In the 7th month, you got to rip the baby apart. And they didn't like that. You can almost just see them breathe in the hostility. And I want to go, oh, don't you know what you're for? Don't you want to realize what that is? That's all. If you're all for it, then know what it is. We weren't expecting a 10th kid. Lizzie was number 10. We thought we were done at 9. Birth mom called us because she had kind of gotten shook up by all this. I guess you could say Lizzie was an unplanned adoption. We weren't practicing safe forward. My son Samuel, 2 weeks before due date, 35-year-old birth mom was told something is very wrong. Do you mind if we test? Tentative diagnosis, corpus callosum agenesis. Severe neurological birth defect, worst case scenario, institution for life. You got to believe everybody in that birth mom's world was against her having this child. Hey, personally I'm opposed to this too, but this is why we do this prenatal testing. Child's not going to have a quality of life here. It's going to be an institution. Can you protect him? Can you go in there every day and make sure he's being taken care of? You can't do that. You got to do the right thing. She did. She gave birth to Sammy. Sammy just ranked out after 10 years at Fort Hood as Sergeant G. It was a shadow on the ultrasound. The test was totally inaccurate. So my kids have this confluence of developmental yuck, gunk, that should make them harder to raise and slower to socialize and more impulsive and more immature and more learning problems. I got something like that. You know, I would not have any kids that I would consider the number one adjective now leveled at children today. Strong-willed. Or its many variants. Mind of her own, stubborn streak a mile wide. This child is so determined, so oppositional, so very oppositional. 8 gone on 18. She's 8 gone on 18. Very high maintenance youngster, challenging child. We have a difficult child. Gentlemen, difficult child is redundant. Am I delusional? No, I think there's a simple explanation. Strongest willed of my 10 kids is not stronger willed than his mother. We got so many strong-willed kids out there. You know it. You listen to your kids and they talk about their grandkids and how strong-willed they are, but they don't realize this is just a kid. This is what kids do. Fallen human nature. They challenge. They're stiff-necked. They're self-centered. That's the nature of the child. But yet it's like if I just use the correct psychological techniques, the child will say, "Oh, Father, I've been so blind. I see what you're saying. That's why you're the grown-up and I'm the child. It's all so clear to me now. Let's hold hands and say kumbaya around the campfire." Sometimes I tease my clients. What would your father have done had you talked to him the way your daughter is talking to you? No. Why not? You were a teenager once. May have felt like it, but I didn't do it very often. Why? I knew. You knew what? Something would happen. What? I don't know. Why don't you know? Never happened. Why didn't you do it? Something would happen. What? I don't know. Who's up first? I don't know. Third base! Gentlemen, it's an Abbott and Costello routine. Many of you said, "Man, I never would have dreamed of doing that to my parents. What I'm watching my grandkids do to their parents, I can't believe this. It's everything I can do to shut my mouth, and I can't get my wife to shut her mouth. Shut your mouth!" And you wonder, what is this? What's going on? Why? What has happened? There's an interesting phenomenon that occurs in my office. A parent will come in, describe a litany of trouble about this long. Then they'll say this. You know, I don't mean to be giving you the wrong impression, because overall, he's a pretty good kid. And I'll say, how's that? Well, he's not on drugs or anything like that. One of the new moral high bars. He's not on drugs. I ask my clients, what do you want looking back at you at age 22? What would you hope to be able to say about that child? Now, no guarantees, but hope. If you're content to look at the child and say, well, given the way kids are turning out nowadays, I'm counting my blessings. Parole officer says one of the nicest kids he had. I tell him, you don't have to parent that hard. Parent like the culture. Culture will take you somewhere. You'll probably have a kid not on drugs. If you wish to look at that child at age 22 and hope to say something like this, I think he's 1 in 100. Morals, character, compassion, seeks God. That's a beautiful human being. I challenge him right out to shoot. You prepared to be 1 in 100 then? You can't parent like them. Look at you guys. You guys are a sliver of the culture. You know that, don't you? It's a Saturday. It's a spectacular fall day. You give up your whole day to come here. You're different. You're caring. You're loving. You're resolute. You're strong, God-seeking men. Either that, or you've got no life whatsoever. I'm getting paid to be here. Although, hey, by the way, given what Ken's paying me, he's lucky he's getting verbs. Learned a lot of, it's interesting though. If you go to the computer, I learned a lot about self-image. You go to the computer, you type in child, self-esteem, search. Now, last I looked, 100 plus million options. Well, self-esteem is the preeminent moral virtue now. It's the apex moral virtue. Even though research says not related to anything. See, we have true self-image. I don't say, Ray Guarendi's a great guy, therefore I got a good self-image. No. The God of the universe says you are infinitely valuable. Now that's self-image. That's image that isn't rocked by your accomplishments or your failures or whatever it is. It's not an image built on sand. The God of the universe declares you infinitely valuable. That's self-image. Look up child, humility, search. A fraction. When's the last time you heard a secular expert, perhaps even Christian experts, talk about humility? My humility is something I'm very proud of. Somebody asked me out there at the book table, you got any new books coming out? I do. My next book is The 3 Most Humble People I Know and How I Taught the Other 2. Can you imagine our Lord going up to the apostles? Simon, there for a while, I toyed with changing your name to Peter. I decided against it. I didn't know what that would do to your self-image. You've always seen yourself as a Simon. I go changing your whole identity. Now, I'll tell you what though, I've spoken to my father, and he and I agree you have a future in this operation. If you can conceive it, you can believe it. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. 12 more weeks of Tony Robbins management courses. Simon, you'll run this outfit. Probably not. I always wanted to go to confession like the politicians. Bless me, Father. Mistakes were made. And I'd like to apologize if God took something I said out of context, misinterpreted it, and became offended by it. Sorry for his sensitivity. I learned a lot of psychology from my dad. My dad went to God before I was born. Excuse me, Lord, I'm going to raise a whole bunch of kids. I don't want to complicate the whole affair. Give me 8 or 10 phrases. I'll just repeat them over and over. We got a lot of dads in here, of course. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to digress for a moment. I got to tell you what more and more women are telling me. They're telling me that they are the main authorities in their home. They set the standards, they set the tone. Disney dad over here, Mr. Good Time, Mr. Easy Going, laid back, not notice nothing. Mr. Honey, I was that way when I was a kid. I think I turned out pretty good. And the women are thinking, let's gather the relatives and vote. Gentlemen, whether you're a parent, whether you're a grandparent, more and more women are telling me you're taking a role here. We guys are along for the ride. Do as your mother says. Do as your mother says. I do as your mother says. Everybody does what your mother says. Protect that woman. There isn't a guy in here that would let another little human being talk to his wife the way that child or grandchild is talking to his wife. Next time you hear her locked into a battle with a kid, don't sit in the Barca lounge or in the other room thinking to yourself, I close my eyes, I can't tell which one of them's a 10-year-old. Get in there! Protect her! It's not your mom you're just talking to that way, or as it were. It's my wife, or your grandma. You go sit down. I'm going to find out what she wants me to do about this. I'll try protecting without a letter from your lawyer. And then I'm going to do more. And I'll tell you what, gentlemen, when those women feel like you are protecting them and you've got their back and you're not going to let a kid mistreat them, they get very affectionate toward you. I used to give my kids a couple bucks. Go give your mother grief, I'll be right back. Worked pretty good until she found out I was only giving them a couple bucks. Learned a lot of psychology from my dad. My dad went to God, as I said before I was born. Got 3 or 4 phrases. I was 3 years old, I heard this one. You gonna cry? I'm going to give you something to cry about. Oh yeah, first father ever to fling that one around. Raymond, go get me something to spank you with. Psychologists talk about using I messages. You don't use you messages, you use I messages. I'm frustrated by what you did, not you frustrate me. My dad was 30 years ahead of I messages. He would take nouns, change them into verbs on my head. Dad, I got peanut butter on your vice grips again. Raymond, I'm going to peanut butter your head. There's always something up here. You're not going to find I'm going to peanut butter your head in any discipline book I've looked. By today's enlightened standards, my father was a barbarian, a psychological Neanderthal. Judge it by the asked question. Not was he psychologically correct. Gentlemen, psychological correctness is in the context of the morals, values, and virtues you want to teach your kid or grandkid. Depends what you want to teach. For my dad, the question was not, am I psychologically correct? According to who? The question is, how well will this work to teach the moral lesson I wish to teach? For Pop, his discipline worked about 50% of the time. You know that sky high with a kid? How's he doing it? Two things. Loved me desperately, and I knew it. He meant it, and I knew it. If my dad's discipline didn't work, he was going to act. I knew that. 6 of my kids we got at infancy, 4 we got later. Twins had a rough first 4 years. We got them when they were 4. Birth mom ingested every toxin she could get a hold of. We don't know where they were the first year and a half of their lives. They were shunted all over the place. Went into foster care for 2.5 years. Foster parents, nice people. They didn't discipline. They felt guilty. Remember what I said about love without discipline is child abuse, because the world will hurt you? But we've since found out that my son and daughter, John and Joanna, had a chance to be adopted prior to us. 2 other families were interested. Both families backed out when they met the kids. They reacted. No thank you. We were hoping for something a little more along the lines of a child. See what I mean, gentlemen? 4-year-old boy and girl. Lost a mommy and a daddy. Originally, and then 2 more times. Why? Well, because the big people didn't do what the big people needed to do, and other big people looked at him and said, I want no part of you. You're warped. I gotta admit, didn't look too good. First visit there, Johnny punches me in the face. Attempts to strangle my wife, kicked the father about 14 times during one of his multiple eruptions. We walked out of there, and my wife had just developed a tick. And she said to me, Ray, we got to rethink this. I don't think the tax deduction's worth it. 2 tax deductions plus the credits. They never made John stay in bed. He roamed the house. He tore stuff up. He created havoc. First weekend visit to our house, my wife says to me, Raymond, why don't you put the children to bed tonight? Honey, I'll give you $100 if you do it. I don't have time for that. I'm writing a parenting book. All right, come on, guys, let's go. Heading for bed. Now, at that point, we had 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 1. Everybody came running, except Johnny. Johnny just stood there. No, go back. All right, I'm not a big guy, but I've been a weightlifter all my life, and I know one thing for certain, even at my age. I am stronger than the biggest, baddest 4-year-old in the whole world. The child's going to go to bed. So I went over and I bent down, kind of like the veterinarians tell you, don't tower over a wild animal. Let him smell your hand. Put my hands on his shoulders. Now he could tell by my grip this was, how shall we say, a non-negotiable psychological interface. At that point, he erupts. Head starts spinning around, green stuff's coming out. He's leaking out of every body orifice. That's my theory. Gentlemen, you're going to check in the seminary there. I think this is why God put holes in them. Leak off the pressure. Most of them leak up here, but you can get leakers down here. Sometimes you get pukers too. Now the interesting thing about a puker, is that they grow out of it. After about a year or two, their whole digestive system sets down. But I remember my first date with my wife. I asked her, I said, honey, can I call you again? She never said a word. She just went over to the car passenger door and went. Even I could read that nonverbal. Johnny wasn't going to go to bed, so I picked him up over my head, off to the side because he's dripping. I carried him to bed, put him in bed, put my hands on his chest, and that's it. Just held him. I couldn't let him roam. It was dangerous. Johnny, bedtime, son. Daddy's not letting you get up until I decide you must stay here. And please, don't get up after I come back. Because I'll wait out in the hallway. And if you get up, I'll come back. You should have seen the look in his face. I went from Disney World to the county jail. My son Andrew was 6. He's in the top bunk watching the whole scenario. Andrew, would you talk to your brother, please? Johnny. Daddy says go to bed. You better go to bed. I remember one time, I didn't go to bed. You're not going to like what's going to happen. You know that, Johnny? He's not going to leave. You think he leaves? He doesn't leave. He goes out there in the hallway, and he'll stand there, and he'll wait, and he don't care. If you come out, he'll crack your bottom. He don't care what the caseworker says. Andrew, that's enough. You sound like Mom. How long do you think I had to hold that boy before he went... Under a minute. That's because I'm such a great disciplinarian? No, my wife's a far better disciplinarian than I am. You know what it was, gentlemen? It's what some of your parents had, what some of you had. Perception. Perception. I looked like I meant it to him. He sized me up even at age 4, thinking my new daddy, and we visited many, many times. He knew I was going to be daddy. This guy means it. Plus, I had a tattoo put right there. Said born to kick butt. Don't get carried away. My dad got carried away. Said things made me neurotic. Raymond, you shut your mouth and eat. I'll teach you to backtalk your mother, young man. Come on, Dad, I already know how. I'll show you to hit your brother. Go ahead. Fall out of that tree, break both your legs, don't come running to me. We are a microwave culture. We're impatient. We want results. Certainly, minimal effort. I fall prey to this. I get up in the morning, I stick my mug in the microwave, I punch in 60 seconds. Then about the 30-second mark, I'm doing this. Come on. I got a minute, let's go. See, this happens with parenting because parents get impatient. How long is this going to take? You know, I have tried everything with this child. Nothing works. Finally, I got so frustrated, I sent him next door to play and moved the family while they was gone. Now, along the way, they tried things that would have worked, but they gave up on him. Father, when's the last time somebody came into the confessional, bless me, Father, for... Well, why don't you just bless me? I don't really have any sins left. I mean, you look at my age, how can I have sins left? You know, 10, 15, 20 years, should be able to take care of most of them, huh? Every confession I come to should be a little less and less. Or are you like me? Bless me, Father. Here's the list. The same stuff I've been telling you for the last 30 years. See, we're allowed to do that, but if this kid doesn't get this after 4 weeks or 4 months or whatever it is that we're trying to teach him with discipline, we think, why is he not getting this? What is wrong here? Alexander, Bell, you guys embarrass me when I'm on the phone. People call here, I sound like a crazy lunatic. Got a new house rule. From this point forward, somebody calls here, you be respectful. You don't interrupt. That includes this. New house rule. You interrupt me, I'm going to put you in your rooms for the rest of the call. You come out, you're grounded for the day. Now, my clients will say to me, okay, I can try this, but how long is this going to take? How many times? I'll say, well, could be 25, 35, 125. I have no idea. That'll be $100. And I always tell them, you won't get away with this. People will say to me, give me some ideas. I go, I can give you dozens of ideas. You know what I can give you, gentlemen? The will to do it. We are a how-to culture. How do I do this? How do I gossip less? How do I control my temper? How do I speak more gently? Control your temper. Well, how do I gossip less? Gossip less. Well, give me the techniques. Where's your will? You got grace helping you. I tell parents, you won't get away with this. Oh, hello, Father. How are you? Sure, thank you. We would be flattered to be the role model family for the church children love in. Father, could you just excuse me for 1 second, please? I'm going to have a little love chat with the children. Yeah, they're precious blessings from God, yeah, aren't they? Yeah. Wish we had 11 or 12 of them. Okay. Yeah, fine. Yeah, they're getting antsy. Well, we're half our best rosary circle. Yeah, we still pray it on our knees in broken glass in Aramaic. Except when we're levitating. Doesn't everybody? Okay. Well, we love you, Father. Okay. God bless you. Peace. Harmony. Aquarius. Just a second, please. Just a second. You're gonna die. I'm gonna rip your tongue out of your throat and wrap around the fence with a buzzard to pick at you little maggot. Get away from us. What's that, Father? No, it's a neighbor lady. She's been talking to her kids like that for years. We do pray for her. No, she won't come. She doesn't like kids. Now, a culture says to me, will you tell me why that person is acting that way? And by the way, gentlemen, you know the number one question I now get as a shrink? Will you tell me how to make somebody else be different? It's a heck of a time making ourselves be different. Removing in a person? I do marriage counseling. Once every 5 or 6 years, I'd like someone to come into my office and begin like this. You know why I'm here? Because it has finally occurred to me, I'm extremely difficult to live with. And I had to drag my spouse in here, because I want my spouse to help me take a good hard look at myself. Fix that person! And we do this with kids. You see, I don't see kids. I see their parents. I see their grandparents. I see their families. That's where the change takes place. You're not going to get some 8-year-old going, Dr. Ray, could you help me with my anger management issues? Maybe some reciprocal strategies I might be able to employ in frustrating fiction-filled circumstances? But we do this, gentlemen. We look for an explanation. We look this way. Let me give you a couple of the common this ways. Diet. Cut out anything red, cut out anything sweet, cut out anything artificial, cut out anything that remotely tastes good, give him a dry cracked wheat, brown berry, tofu, sandwich on bean sprouts. This kid will get better math scores, kiss his sister on the lips before he paints murals on the church ceiling. Well, there's one problem with diets. Good for health and nutrition. Our kids' diets are atrocious, and there's a lot more allergies out there. We don't know why that is. But the idea that if I eat this, I'm going to act like this almost immediately has a very weak link there. But that notion's been swallowed whole by our culture. He went to that party last night. He had 3 Reese's peanut butter cups, 2 cans of Mountain Dew, and a Kit Kat. He came home and torched the dog. Now, I told those people, no Kit Kat. It was the Kit Kat. Probably not. Birth order, middle child syndrome. I tell parents, you're not afraid of middle child syndrome, don't have an odd number of kids. Got an odd number, have another one. Give one away. Wipe out that middle spot. Truth on birth order holds one place, oldest only, as a group. A little more independent, a little more achieving. Maybe they develop a shade quicker. I don't think that's their position. We all change our styles. First kid, your wife boiled everything she came within 50 feet of. Last kid, you threw him his big dirt ball. Say, here, chew on that. Wipe your mouth off in the gas can before you're coming out. First kid, dual videotape of every burp and bowel movement he ever had. Last kid, one snapshot at the birth, one at the wedding rehearsal dinner. Dad! Now how come I got no pictures? It's not true, son. Your sister did a popsicle stick sketch of you in kindergarten. We picked it. Besides, you look like your sister. Use your pictures. First kid, you sneak into her room every night, you stick a mirror underneath her nostrils. Make sure she's still breathing. Last kid, you tell the dog, get out of the crib! Don't lick him in the face! No, I was talking to the baby. You don't know where that mouse been. Poor dog. Somebody asked my wife when our ninth one, Peter, was about 3 months old, somewhere in there. My wife said, they asked her, is Petey sleeping through the night yet? My wife said, I don't know if he is. We are. You gotta get to that point. And some ideas are so foolish, only intellectual types could actually believe them. When I was in grad school, we got this notion, and I thought, this notion's going to die. It's too counter to reality, it's counter to research, and certainly counter to God. And the notion is, there are no differences between male and female. We're pretty much just socialized into different roles, that's all. You give a little girl a front-end loader, she'll carry it around for 4 years, become a special ops tank commando. You give a little boy a baby doll, he'll carry it around for 4 years, become a nurturing preschool teacher. 50% of little baby boys, in time, will rip the head off that baby doll and turn it into a machine gun. We're wired different. For example, little girls, women, are more verbal than little boys. Men, they talk earlier. They talk better. You talk longer. That's why if a mom drifts into a discipline trap, it's usually something along these lines. Tolerate, tolerate, ignore, ignore. Actually, no. Talk, talk, negotiate, negotiate. Guys drift into a discipline trap, it's usually something along these lines. Tolerate, tolerate, ignore, ignore, oblivious, oblivious. Kill! Women are more observant. You guys notice this. They notice everything about everybody at all times, forever. To be used upon men who get to a point in our lives, if we notice our wives are out there, we get extra credit. Hey guys, when's the last time one of our buddies did this to us? Hey, yo, Rock, Max. So, you guys notice anything different about me? I've been alive a long time. I have yet to say, Leo, cute top. Little girls used to come downstairs before Mass and do this. Sarah, what's the matter? Sarah, it's 25 feet from your bed to here. What could possibly have upset you in that distance? Be fine. This is touching me right here. I don't like the way this touches me right here, and my socks are twisted. They got strings on them, and they won't stay in a straight line. My boys will come down. James, is that pee on your shirt? You see it now, Dad? First day of kindergarten, I asked my son, Andrew, how was school today, buddy? Okay. That's good. So what'd you do? Nothing. Or if you got a really communicative male, stuff. What is the name of the lady who stands in front of you for 6.5 hours and talks at you? I don't think she told anybody, Dad. Joshua says he's got one called teacher. I'll ask my daughter. Hannah, how was school today, baby? Well, okay, Daddy. My teacher's name is Mrs. Bartley. Mrs. Bartley has 3 children, Jessica, Jason, and Ashley. They're the first, favorite colors, middle age. Tell you this later. We did 12 activities. The pumpkin getting activity we started at 8:07. Is that a stupid time or what? Now, Ashley was my best friend till 8:30. Then she got mad at me. I don't even know what I did. But Jessica told Tiffany I could be her forever friend till tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Now, Mrs. Bartley has this little brown mark right here. I can't tell it's there unless she goes over by the window and she bends down kind of like this. If she does, the sun comes through the Venetian blinds, off the clock, reflects through her bifocals, forms a prism on the window and with a brown dot in it. Daddy, I don't think she knew it was there, so I figured it's time somebody told her. They both had the same teacher. Psychological correctness is a quagmire. You'll overthink, you'll overtalk, you'll overanalyze, you'll over-negotiate, you'll under-enjoy. That's why, some of you had 5, 6, 7 kids in your families. You do that now, and people practically gag when they hear you got more than 2.16. We live in an interesting culture, don't we? You can have physical relations with anybody you want, anytime, anywhere. The only people we still punish are moms, married to the same guy that have more than 1.86 children. Then they get this. Are these all your children? Do you know how this is happening? Don't you have a TV? You're sucking up the rainforest. They used to ask us that. Are these all your kids? I'd say, of course not. The oldest is at home with the triplets. You can't get better at this. You can gain skills, of course. Buy my books and things. A little subliminal advertising there, nobody picked it up. But I'll tell you what, gentlemen, if you're going to be a strong Catholic in a world like today, you better have a steel rod through your spine about an inch thick. That world doesn't understand you. And you have to know what you're doing is right because God says this is the way to live. Unless there's no God. If there's no God, then do what you want. And Brother Karamazov, he said, if there is no God, everything is permissible. It's true, unless it's illegal or blows back on you. But if there is a God, it's like I talk about the new atheists. The old atheists made sense. There's no God, therefore I can do what I want. Now that makes sense if there is no God. You got the wrong premise, but the logic follows. The new atheist is everywhere. They're in our pews. There is a God, but he thinks just like me. That's the new atheism, gentlemen. That's what you're going to have to deal with. It's pervasive. I do this more often at the women's conferences because the ladies tend to feel the worst about this than we guys do. More of their identity is infused in raising those children. I'd like to close with this. I'm seeing something last, 20, 30 years in my career that really gained momentum, and now I think it's absolutely epidemic. I don't think it's ever happened in Christian history before, and that is children raised in a faith-filled home by good, loving parents are leaving the faith. They're suspecting it, they're neglecting it, they're rejecting it, they don't want any part of it. And the women especially beat themselves up. Now, that's going to torment you guys too. But the ladies really feel like, where did I fail? What did I do wrong? What did I miss? They're not here. I do have this in some of the books. Although interesting, this is what doofus I am. I had a couple boxes of books to bring, and I picked up the wrong boxes. So I don't have a whole lot, so the books are $90 a piece. Law, supply, and demand here. I want to do this little exercise to take your guilt away. You still love them, you still pray for them, but I guarantee you, logically speaking, this will take your guilt away. Please just answer yes or no to these questions. Is there a God?
Yes.
Was Christ God?
Yes.
Was he sinless?
Yes.
Could he perform miracles?
Yes.
Did he have a perfect understanding of human nature?
Yes.
Could he get most people to follow him?
No.
Oh, I get it. You think you're better at this than the God-man. Can you do a miracle? Can you even do a crummy card trick? Our Lord himself couldn't get most people to follow him. We think there's some kind of spiritual formula that you missed it, you know. I got 10 kids, they're all grown. Some of them going to serve the church. Some of them probably going to serve time. I got one going to Penn State, one going to State Penn. My wife and I will never tether our peace to the decisions our adult children make. That puts us completely emotionally hostage. I had a lady call the radio show once. She said, I will never again be at peace or be joyful until my children come back to the faith. I said, ma'am, do you realize what you're doing? You're making a liar out of Christ. What? He said, I give you peace the world doesn't understand. Are you telling him, yeah, but in the earliest manuscripts, there's an asterisk there that says, unless my kids leave the faith, I can't have peace? Pray for them. You love them. You recognize some of them may come back after we're gone. That's where it is now. I got one son that's flirting with what you guys are going through right now, and I have a daughter who's in prison. All right? So we're not going to wrap our identity around where they go. You do that, you in big emotional trouble. Wish your wives were here to hear it, because they're the ones most tormented by this. I want to close with this. Probably some long-term marriages here, and I'd like to celebrate that if I could. Elderly gentleman and his wife were shopping. She bends over, she picks up a can of clean peaches, she tries to walk out without paying. Woo! Goes before the judge. What'd you do? I stole a can of peaches. How many in a can? 12. 12 days in the county jail then. Her husband can't believe he's hearing this. Your Honor, please, I'd like to speak up for my wife, please. Go ahead. She also stole a can of peas. Thanks, gentlemen.